Hello, YouTube. What is going on, guys? GZTV, and Lollapalooza is right around the corner. It's actually this week, and I am going to see one of my favorite rappers of all time, Kendrick Lamar. And to hype that up, this week we are going to be doing two, kind of retro reviews of his albums. I haven't really talked about them on YouTube. Damn was talked about on my TikTok, but I haven't talked about it on YouTube yet, and I kind of wanted to give you guys a full-length kind of review format. So here we go. Here is Damn, 2017 album from Kendrick Lamar. This album is incredible. One of the most enjoyable Kendrick Lamar albums ever. Obviously some things going into this. You can listen to it in reverse order. There's all sorts of theories and stuff. So many concepts. There's so much to talk about. I can't fit everything in the video. If you want to see like a full Damn video essay or something, you can probably find one. This album is studied in a lot of fucking places. It's so iconic. I mean, lots of expectations. Coming off of To Pimp a Butterfly, this album was really important for Kendrick Lamar because now he's kind of reverting back to his original gangster kind of Compton-inspired sound here. People thought he was going to drop 2 albums at this time, which is kind of an interesting fact. I think Nation was the second one. And I mean, for Christ's sakes, this thing won a Pulitzer Prize. It's a piece of art. It belongs in a museum. And Humble was the single. Album is open for interpretation in terms of his message, the meaning. It's just a fucking art piece. And a lot of the songs on here tie together. They work together. It's great. So yeah, let's get into it, track by track. You guys know how my review videos go. Let's get it. So the first track is Blood, and the funny thing is he opens and closes the album with a story, but obviously Blood is like a short form story to kind of get us into the album. Crazy mini story he tells of a woman blind, not being able to find this thing, getting frustrated, and then when Kendrick goes to confront her, he gets shot. There's lots of symbolism in terms of, bowing down to God, and I feel like a lot of this album kind of represents that for Kendrick Lamar. Very chilling opener. I mean, this song shakes me to the core every time I listen to it. I love to go back and listen to this song. Yeah, it's not really an official song. Yeah, it's just full of snippets, maybe some singing from, what's his name, Beacon, who's very important to the album, but that's a great song that I love returning to every now and then. So, DNA is pretty much all about the black culture. Obviously, we know Kendrick raps about that a lot. And it's funny because Kung Fu Kenny, believe it or not, was inspired by Rush Hour 2, and in the music video, Don Cheadle kind of illustrates that, and Kendrick explained that in an interview before. And this is kind of where we first learned of that. So DNA was kind of one of the bangers, one of the boom, appealing songs to hardcore hip-hop fans. Well, not hardcore, but maybe casual hip-hop fans. I mean, he continues to address the critiques of his anti-racism activist songs, such as All Right, and Fox News gets mentioned all sorts of times on this album. And yeah, this is a very commercial song, but he went in on this song, and this is probably one of his better commercial songs ever, because his flows were fucking amazing. If you really listen closely to this song, he goes off. As we get into track number 3, it's Yah, which I believe stands for, or is short for Yahseh, the religious god in some place of the world. I can't remember, but obviously very religious centric, as is the rest of the album. Again, more Fox News stuff. I mean, he actually called out Geraldo Rivera, which is actually kind of crazy. A more mellowed out track in contrast to DNA. You kind of slow down and go up and then go down and go up and go down. This album has a lot of contradictory nature, and that's what makes it such a good album. It's a roller coaster, literally. He takes you one place, takes you to the other, and so cool. He lists all of the types of emotions and all these personal concepts that he has, and it's awesome to really go through this journey with Kendrick. As we move on to track number 4, which is Element, talking his shit, talking about all the struggles with his family, coming up and stuff. And songs like this are why Kendrick Lamar is one of the GOATs. I mean, he has so much confidence on a mic. He said he feels like Michael Jordan when he's on the mic. He fucking is damn near the Michael Jordan of rap. His confidence, again, just through the roof on this thing. It sounds like a song from The Heart, where he just has a really long verse. It kind of echoes, the Heart Part 4. And the Heart Part 4 in this song usually going into his albums, the Heart series kind of represents what the album's going to sound like, and I feel like this track really took off of the Heart Part 4. And so moving on here with track number 5, we have Feel. You know, what the fame can negatively do to someone is what he's talking about. Obviously, a lot of typical topics, but just the way that Kendrick Lamar tells these stories on this album is amazing. Again, there's a lot of contradictory things. He discusses how he like feels alone, but never like feels the need to reach out to family. He has people around him that genuinely care about him, but he's so like in like he's so stuck with himself, he's so like introverted or whatever that he won't talk to them, and pretty dark track, straight from the heart here from Kendrick, one of the darker tracks on the album. Simple instrumental, kind of focus on his flows, his songwriting, which was absolutely amazing for this project and for this song in particular. Moving on to track 6 is Loyalty. The importance of chemistry in any relationship. That's kind of like the main topic, the main point of this song. There's a Jay-Z interpolation. There's a ODB interpolation here, like paying homage to the GOATs. That's obviously things that a lot of rappers do. More of a commercial poppy record on the album, but it's still great. It still hits different. The talkbox sample is awesome. I think it really adds a lot to this track. It's so hard to stay humble, and that kind of led into Humble. I feel like it would have been perfect on this album if Humble came right after this, since like the Rihanna kind of thing. So that would have been cool. But we get to track 7, which is Pride. Very introspective, very religious track on here. The title's fitting. It kind of reflects on his pride. Every track kind of represents a feeling, an emotion, some sort of concept. And I really like that. I love the concept of this album, and Kendrick continues to deliver great concept album after great concept album, and this is another one of those examples. It's interesting, the Pride beat is very humble, while the humble beat is prideful. It's a great contrast there. His vocal effects throughout the verses are great. And yeah, just an overall great song as we get into track 8, which is Humble. Obviously, like the hit of the record, it's very ironically titled Humble because the beat is in your face, the lyrics are in your face, and yeah, very interesting. Kendrick likes to twist the narrative a little bit. He likes to twist tracks around. He is not your ordinary rapper, of course, and if you've listened to his music long enough, you know that. The Mike Will production was amazing on here. A lot of other religious aspects as well. Probably one of his biggest songs ever, and it's not a great track, but it's definitely something if you're with your friends, you can play on the aux. So yeah, I got slightly interrupted, so I had to stop the recording. But the next track is track number 9, which is Lust, and this track kind of explains how monotonous life can really be. You can hear on his tone when he's like going through his verses, wake up, get some money, roll some weed up, like very bored with it all, and famous people, talking about famous people, Lust, pretty iconic track on this album if I had to say so. And you kind of notice like the tone of his rapping. He seems very bored and very out of it. Not because he like doesn't feel like providing some energy for this project, but it's because he goes through the same shit every day, and Lust is a way to get out of that for a change. That's kind of like the whole point of this track. Moving on to Love, which is track 10. A love song, as the title suggests. This and Loyalty are kind of like the two love songs on here, kind of talking about his muse. And given that his relationship with Whitney Alford is very private, this track kind of means something. Well, up to this point anyway. Whitney Alford has a lot of inclusion on Mr. Morale, but yeah, this track's pretty good. The song contradicts the nature of Lust again. Shout out Sakari, great vocals on this track, great performance on the feature. Moving on to Triple X, X-rated, with U2, which is awesome that U2 is on this album. Who would have expected that combination? I think this is track 11 or 12, I don't remember. One of my favorite tracks on the record. There are some tracks on the back end of this, and I'm like, yeah, these are definitely some highlights, and I go back to these tracks quite a bit. The mix of the genres is amazing. Obviously, like a very political, very religious, again, religion. It's a very important track in the sequencing. For whatever way you decide to listen to the album, it's like a change of pace. It's a change of tone on the album, for sure. It talks about, spiritual dislocation. Nardwuar actually predicted the collab with U2 and Kendrick, so that's really cool. So much to dive into with this song. You can make a separate video about like what the concept of the song is, what he's talking about, and that's like the beauty of this album. There's so much to interpret. There really is. Fear is the next song. He's kind of discussing times in his life where he experienced fear, different time periods of him kind of maturing and him growing out of things. It's a cool concept. I really like the idea of this song. As a young child at like 7 years old, he feared discipline from his mother. When he was 17 years old, he kind of feared, being in the hood and experiencing gang violence and getting jumped. And, now like 27, now like in the current era of DAMN, he's kind of like trying to deal with the repercussions of fame and kind of like fearful of what's next. Really dope track. Next is God. This is kind of like a victory lap for Kendrick. That's kind of what this song feels like. He boasts, but also keeps himself grounded at the same time, which is a really cool thing to do as a rapper. A lot of rappers boast, but they never have any humbling moments. No pun intended for the album purpose. But yeah, he seems to be happy. He has a lot of fun on this record. This is probably some of the happiest moments he had on the album. So yeah, getting into the outro track, Duckworth, this is another one of my favorites just because the storytelling, in my honest opinion, I think this is one of the best storytelling songs I've ever heard. Kind of detailing how Top Dawg met his father. Crazy story. You have to listen to this track to really like get the story and get the gravity of the situation. Lots of samples are on here as well. The flows are so vintage. I mean, this is just classic Kendrick Lamar. I mean, I'm so happy he shared this story. A lot of people probably would never have figured out about this sort of thing had he have not talked about it on the record. So there you go, guys. There's my track to track. Now we're going to get into the review. And here we go. Here's the review. Now, I know I usually do number ratings. I don't want to do that for the album because, again, there's a lot of interpretation that comes up with this album. So this is your choice. And this is another showcase of Kendrick Lamar and his amazing concepts, his amazing lyricism, all of that stuff. I mean, the features only did what was necessary as well. That's one big point I want to touch on. People didn't try to do too much. There weren't even that many features on here, mostly samples. I mean, like Zakari, U2, and Rihanna, I think were the only 3 major features on here, which is great. I mean, we like Kendrick in a solo realm. He doesn't need features, The intro and the outro are the most mind-blowing songs, which work so well with the conspiracy of wickedness versus weakness, and, listening to the album in reverse order. I think that was perfect. Those two had, the most lasting impact. The intro and the outro both had a story, and those stories were so damn mind-blowing. I mean, one of them was probably, a hypothetical type of situation, like a story that Kendrick kind of made up in his head to set up the tone of the album. But the last track, the fact that actually happened is absolutely ridiculous. It's such a good album to come back to every now and then. If you want to, gain knowledge, if you want to, I feel like this album gives you knowledge. This album gives you all sorts of things. A very genius mind is Kendrick Lamar. And, I don't like to dick ride or anything, but this album is amazing. This is one of the best albums of the 2010s. If you put it in a top 10 for that decade, I would not be mad at you. It's so incredible. There's so many things to like about that album. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say. I know that review wasn't anything much, but that's my thoughts on the Kendrick Lamar album, Damn, from 2017. Obviously, we've done other albums like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. We are going to continue in a couple of days here with, I think, I'm either going to do Section 80 or TPAP. I'm not sure which one. So, yeah, see you guys there.